All right, we are now recording. So welcome everybody. If you just get down to the chat real quick, the Nearpod link's there. Hopefully you can get on with me and follow along as we go. But this is the last lesson, if you can believe that. We are almost at the end of school. Hip hip hooray, right? Okay, so today we're going to talk about political systems. Just a forewarning, I always remind you this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes. It'll be stored for a while. I should have done this one first. I'll come back to virtual expectations. Remember your pod. Make sure chat tool respectfully and appropriately. And then also please respond to questions and instructions the first time. Okay, so this is going to be the objectives of today's lesson, okay? So given a quiz in the OLS, so this will be a quiz that you'll take, students will identify different governmental organizations and key political figures with 80% accuracy across one trial, okay? Before we jump into this, I am going to go over the class in a second. Yeah, let me go over the class first, and then I'll do the little, I guess, not warning, but just talk to you guys for a second. Okay, so remember, lesson recordings are always put up on this class announcement board, so you can easily find it. If you hit plan here, where we're at Monday. You'll have your lesson 6 quiz / exit ticket for today will be due Friday. I would just look at doing your post test earlier rather than later. Okay. I am going to zero out everything on Friday, but you do have some time to do your post test. But I'd go in, and if you're ready, I'd get these things done so you can be done with the class, right? Last day for seniors, the 18th. Last day for everybody else is the 25th. Okay. So this gives you a good week or so to get everything done that needs to be done. And then we're off for summer. Yay. Okay. As we're coming in here, we have two things that we got to do, right? Lesson 6 quiz. Okay. They'll be talking about political stuff. And then you have the post test, which is right here. Okay. And you can do both of those. And then you'll be, if you've done everything else, you can kind of get done. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a kind of, not warning, but politics as we kind of talk about these. This is, it can get kind of heated. I try to stay like basically neutral on everything as I'm trying to teach here, right? I've had some students say, oh, you're this or you're that. And that I'm not trying to push anything, one thing or another. I know people do have issues with both parties, that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to give you like basic facts, and the whole thing on here is just about, you'll try to stay neutral too. Okay, very good. We all have our different ideas, and that's fine. I'm happy everybody has the opportunity to do that, and we can share those thoughts with each other. Okay, but we're going to talk about politics, particularly in the United States. What we see, as we've seen more than any other place, is it's been divided, right? You can see where one fight, I mean, this political cartoon that I see right here, right? Somebody saying, yep, 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 nope, 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 I mean, it's just going back and forth. I feel like the teacher off Charlie Brown, where everybody's like, whoa, whoa, nobody really listens to each other. And it's just, yeah, as you said, way divided, okay? We're going to watch a little video that kind of portrays a little bit different about the different parties. And then we'll kind of discuss a little bit more.
There are two main political parties in the United States, the Republicans and the Democrats. What is a political party? Why are there only two main parties? A political party is a group of people who have joined together because they share common principles, common beliefs, and common values, and they seek to control government by winning elections. Members of a party work to convince the government to adopt laws, regulations, and programs which reflect their party's beliefs. Political parties have a long history, both in the United States and in other countries as well. The United States has what is known as a two-party system. A two-party system is a political structure in which only two political parties have a genuine chance of winning elections. However, it does not mean that only two parties are allowed to exist, as there are numerous other smaller parties. The two-party system developed in Great Britain. In the latter half of the 1600s and throughout the 1700s, two political parties, the Whigs and the Tories, emerged and established themselves as the dominant parties. This long-standing tradition of two main parties probably led to the eventual adoption of a similar system in the United States. Initially, the Founding Fathers intended for the American government to avoid politics. In fact, in his farewell address, George Washington warned against the existence of political parties, suggesting that such organizations were the enemies of government and would only distract government from its intended purpose. However, early political disagreements gave rise to the Federalist Party and the Democratic-Republican Party. Since that time, the United States has nearly always had two dominant parties. Currently, the two main political parties in the United States are the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Every political party has what is known as a platform. A platform is a public statement of the party's main beliefs and guiding principles. Each of the stated principles of a platform is known as a plank. Party platforms can be rather lengthy, with modern parties having hundreds of planks. The party will adopt or update its platform every 4 years at the party's national convention. Political parties serve a wide variety of purposes. One of the most important functions a party serves is to nominate candidates. This helps a voter narrow his or her choices. Instead of voters studying a potentially limitless field of candidates, each party selects nominees. This allows the voter to focus attention on just 3 or 4 candidates and make a more informed decision. Another function of political parties is to inform voters. Whether it's through local, grassroots involvement such as letter writing campaigns, or party leaders speaking on television, parties attempt to let the general public know what's going on. This could also take the form of passing out flyers or pamphlets, or staging a large protest rally. The party that is in power can also set the agenda. This means that the party leaders will establish a course for the nation to follow. Whether it's a good course or a bad course would likely determine how long that particular party stayed in power. One final function of political parties is to serve as a watchdog. Both parties do an effective job of watching the other party to make sure they are doing the things they are supposed to. If one party becomes corrupt, the other will surely inform the public. So, even though the Founding Fathers did not desire political parties to exist, they will surely continue to be a part of the American political system for years to come.
Mute, but I'm not. Okay, now I am. Okay, so that kind of gives us a little overview about political parties. basically what they're all about. Okay. So just to recap a little bit, political parties are a group of voters with common interests who want to influence the government. The U.S. is basically a two-party system because only two main parties hold most of the power. Okay. And if you did have a third party come in, it may affect that election, but then they would absorb into a primary party because they need to be able to do that. Yeah, this is quite the topic here. Okay, functions of political parties. Okay, some things. They nominate candidates. Okay, as we know in this most recent presidential campaign, okay, that went on, you had who was the nominee for the Democratic Party? Does anybody know? You want to put that in the chat for president? And then who was the nominee for the Republican Party in the last presidential election? Any thoughts? Okay, yeah, President Biden, right, was the Democratic nominee, and President Trump was there. So President Trump lost the election, and then Biden became president. Okay, when they do nominate campaigns, they go after each other first, right? So they're saying, "Oh, this person's not good. That's in my own party because they did this," you know. So they make sure that each candidate's qualified. They help the Congress and state legislatures. Okay, so it's interesting. So there's politics at every level. Okay, you have national politics, which probably we're most familiar with, and then you have some state politics. So you have the governor, the state legislature, and then you also have government on a local level on cities and county levels. And some cities actually don't have where it's called a partisan race, where you don't declare whether you are what party you are associated with. However, they still it still kind of comes out of what they are, right? Sometimes they affiliate themselves with it, one or not, even though they don't in the actual race, right? Okay, a lot of them, they act as watchdogs, especially the other officials of other parties. So you hear this all the time. And this is probably what's one of the most, I guess, annoying kind of things. They're saying, these people, they're doing this, right? Or they're doing that. And it's, and that's what we kind of see a lot of. And you don't want corruption, right? But at the same time, you know, all this kind of bickering is a little bit of a pain. Okay. This is an interesting thing. So we talked about third parties. Okay. So third parties, they can influence elections. And usually they affect it in one way or another. So when you had George H.W. Bush run against Bill Clinton, okay, you had a third party candidate named Ross Perot. And Ross Perot, he went and took a lot of actually the Republican bids or votes, and it swung different states different ways. And that's when President Clinton was elected to office. Okay, as you can kind of see here, because of this third party by Ross Perot. Okay, so I know a lot of people say, I don't agree with either of the parties, okay, which I can sympathize with, definitely. You know, I don't want to be a Republican. I don't want to be a Democrat. And so they choose some other party to kind of vote for, or they choose whoever they think is the best candidate at the time and kind of flip-flop. So political parties in the U.S., okay? First, you have the Republican Party. Okay, the Republican Party was actually born out of a dispute over slavery, and President Abraham Lincoln was actually the first Republican president. They tend to be the following: they want stronger state governments, okay, less change and more traditional. less taxes on the rich. They believe if you don't tax the rich, they'll pay more into the economy and their businesses will start running it, and less government spending. So government should be small, and their symbol is the elephant. Here's some prominent members. You kind of see the most recent one that probably is kind of the head, you would say right now, is actually former President Donald Trump. But here's some Republicans that have ran before. The Democratic Party has roots back to Jefferson's. So the Democratic Republican Party, they tend to support more of a stronger federal government, and they believe that the federal government should, be able to dictate a lot more than local kind of leaders and states and stuff. They are more adapt to change, right? So they kind of look at more of an evolving constitution where the constitution needs to be updated because we are people and our culture is changing. Okay. They think that we should tax more of the rich because they are wealthier and have benefited from the structure and economy that has been built by the government. And then also spending more on government programs such as welfare, that kind of stuff. And their symbol is the donkey. And here's some prominent members of the Democratic Party. John F. Kennedy, Bill Clinton, former President Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Hillary Clinton. And the leader right now is, of course, President Joe Biden, as he holds the office. Okay, so what I want you to do now, I want you to go and fill in the blank. Blank party has the roots back to Jefferson Republican. Okay, and this one, dispute over slavery. Okay. So fill both of these in. You just grab them and drop them where they need to go. And when you're done, you push done. So I'll give you a second to do that. All right. Oh, it's all right. Thanks for letting me know, Holly. Okay, so the Democrats and Republicans, just to reiterate, Democrats believe in a strong central government. They're what we call federalists. That means they believe in more of the federal level stuff. They're more socially liberal. Their loose interpretation of the Constitution, they said things that should change more. Free market, but should be limited by government intervention. They seem to lean towards the left. And so what they mean by the left and right is the legislatures are set up where on the right of the legislator is where all the Republicans stay and where the left. And so that's what they talk about, right or left. Okay. But then they kind of make it as kind of like a political scale of where you should kind of be on. Republicans, right? They're strong state government. They're anti-federalists. They're socially conservative. They want a strict interpretation of the Constitution, so things move slower to kind of change. They believe in more of a free market economy with not as many government interventions. And then they lean towards the right. Okay, third parties. You don't usually see these very often, but they are out there, okay? You have to make sure you're aware they rarely win elections. But they can affect elections, like as we saw in the one scenario with Ross Perot. The reasons why they fail is there's not enough votes to get on the ballot. They have trouble raising money, and they lack name recognition. But there are some like independents. So people may run as an independent where they're not as a party. but then they go and they side with a certain party when they get elected. So, for example, if anybody's familiar with Senator Bernie Sanders, he actually runs as a senator as an independent, and he's won a lot. He's been in Congress for years and years, but he goes and sides with the Democratic Party, and he actually ran as a Democratic candidate in the last presidential election cycle. Okay, this is the left and right. We kind of talked about that a little bit, but some stereotypes of that is basically people on the right hold more traditional values, and people on the left support more change in society. Okay, if you are interested at all in kind of finding out where you are at, okay, kind of on the political spectrum, you can take this political quiz. This is nothing that's required, okay? As I said before, I'm going to put this in the chat. This is not required whatsoever. You don't have to do it. Some questions make you kind of really think, and so you don't have to do this, but this is something just kind of say, hey, I'd like to know like where I'm actually at compared to others. Then you can kind of see on there. Okay. All right. And that will end our lesson today on political kind of systems. So what we're going to do, you'll need to go into lesson 6 in politics and click on the lesson. And I believe there's about 10 questions on this. And you're probably going to have to do a little bit of research on it if you do not know some of the questions, okay? So for example, it's going to ask you, what the different branches of government are, okay? Which is something you should have learned a while ago, right? The executive branch of government, how many senators there are, how many U.S. House representatives are, how many years the president's in, who's your current president, vice president, who's the current governor of Utah, who's what's the political, the party of the president now, who was the first president. So it's going to ask you a lot of questions like that, okay? So you may have to do a little bit of research on that. Well, that's all right. But that kind of ends us off. Remember, we got this, and then we got the post test, and then you guys are done with the class. So if you have any questions, I'll stick around and answer any. But if not, you guys are free to take off. And I appreciate you guys being here.